Hello, my OC Otter friends. This is Miss Mason, and I teach first grade for those of you that may not know. And I am going to be reading chapters 15 and 16 from our book, The Year of the Dog. So here we go. The title of this chapter 15 is called The Science Fair. The science fair was on Saturday. It didn't seem fair that we had to go to school on a Saturday. But our teacher said it was the only way everyone could see all the projects. I was glad everyone was going to see our project. I couldn't wait until they heard what we discovered. Melody and I taped our posters on the wall. Our largest poster said, "Feed your plant soda for optimal growth." I had drawn a picture of a pea plant and a bottle of ginger ale next to it. We hung that one right in the middle. We put our plants on the table with a carton of milk, a bottle of soda, a cup of orange juice, and a watering can. The plants were very small and scrawny. They didn't look anything like my drawings. Becky and Charlotte came over to our table while I was trying to make our plants look better by drawing pictures on the pots. The pictures didn't help. "Those plants don't look that good," Charlotte said. "Did you really water one with soda?" "Yes," Melody said, "and we made a scientific discovery. This our lucky year." Becky and Charlotte looked puzzled, so I explained the idea to them. "Melody and I were born in the year of the tiger," I told them, "so the year of the dog is really lucky for us. We'll probably win the blue ribbon." "But I'm the same age as you," Becky said, "so I was born in the year of tiger too. So that means I'm just as lucky as you are. Maybe we'll win the blue ribbon." Melody and I looked at each other. We hadn't thought of that. How could all of us be lucky when there was only one blue ribbon? "We're luckier because it's the Chinese year of the dog," Melody said, "and Grace and I are Chinese." I could see Becky didn't agree, but Miss Malone, Melody's teacher, came into the room and told everyone to go stand by their projects. "We're ready to start judging the science fair," Miss Malone said, "and this year we are especially lucky. My good friend, Mr. McNeely, is going to be our guest judge. He is a scientist. He works at NASA." "Lucky," Melody nudged me. "See, with him here, we'll definitely get the blue ribbon." "But he's from NASA," I whispered to Melody. "That's like the space shuttle. He's probably an astronaut. He won't know about plants." "Astronauts are scientists," she whispered back, "and scientists know about science. We're going to win. I know it." We waited a long time for Mr. McNeely to come to our project. When he did, he looked surprised. "Well, this is an interesting project," he said, and he picked up our report and started reading it. We nudged each other. Here was our good luck. "However," he said to us, "I'm not sure your results substantiate your claim. Were your plants in a controlled environment?" I looked at Melody. Her grin had completely disappeared. "Our water plant is the control," I told him, remembering what Mom had called it. I felt very smart. "No, I mean, did you give each plant the same amount of liquid, and did they each get the same sun exposure?" he said. "Well, there wasn't enough room in the window for the water plant, so I put that one on the table in the other room," I said, suddenly not feeling very smart. "It might have gotten less light, and we didn't measure how much we gave them." Mr. McNeely said, frowning. "Then I'm afraid your scientific method was seriously flawed." Melody and I looked at each other. We didn't feel so lucky anymore. "To get true results, you should do this project over again with at least 10 plants for each liquid in a controlled environment," he continued. "And then you should do a chlorophyll test." When he left, Melody and I were very quiet. "I don't think he liked it," Melody said. "He did say it was interesting," I said. "But I really thought we had discovered something," Melody said. She sounded glum. "He thought it was a terrible project." "He didn't say it was terrible," I said. "He said we were seriously flawed," Melody said. "That's scientist talk for terrible." We sat down at our table, depressed. The science fair that had been so colorful and thrilling an hour ago was now gray and dull. "I didn't know scientists had to do all of that stuff," I said. Maybe I didn't want to be a scientist after all. It looked like I didn't have any science talent. "Did you know what he was talking about?" "No," Melody said, and we both laughed. An hour later, Miss Malone came back into the room. We watched her hand Charlotte and Becky the blue ribbon. Then their pictures were taken for the school newspaper. I guess Charlotte and Becky have more luck than we do after all, Melody said, even though they're not Chinese. Maybe because Becky has a dog, I said. Dogs are probably better friends with other dogs than they are with tigers. Yeah, Melody said. Scruffy probably put in a good word for them. Or maybe they just had a better project, I said. Maybe, Melody said. But I bet it was Scruffy. And there's a picture of Scruffy the dog. All right. So now we are going to move on to chapter 16 called Dreaming of Dorothy. We knew the end of the school year was coming when Miss Malone announced that there were sign-ups for the school play. This year, she told our grade, we are going to put on the musical play, The Wizard of Oz. You can choose to be in the orchestra or the choir, or you can try out for one of the parts. The Wizard of Oz, I loved the movie and the book. Right away, I knew I was going to try out for Dorothy. Since it looked like I wasn't going to be a scientist when I grew up, I wouldn't mind being a rich movie star. This could be my chance to see if I had talent as an actress. Melody and I looked at the sign-up sheet. I'm signing up for the orchestra, Melody told me. You're not going to try out for Dorothy, I said. I am. I'm not going to sing in front of all those people, Melody said, looking at the list. Besides, everyone wants to be Dorothy. That was true. The list for Dorothy was very long. Almost all the girls in our grade had signed up. I made the list even longer. That whole week, I practiced being Dorothy. In class, I drew pictures of Dorothy in her checkered dress. At home, I drew Dorothy's ruby shoes while I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I practiced singing every day, after school, after dinner, in the bathroom, and before bed. Why can't you sing somewhere elsewhere, Lissy groaned. Anywhere but here. I wasn't the only one singing, though. On the day of the audition, it seemed like every girl was singing. You could hear Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the bus, in the girls' bathroom, and on the playground. I'm going to play in the swings, Melody said, covering her ears. I'm sick of that song. I kept singing it with the other girls. We all crowded together like a flock of excited crows. Even while we sang, all of us were wondering the same thing. Who would get the part? Who was going to be Dorothy? The thought was thrilling and delicious at the same time. Do you think I could be Dorothy? I asked Becky. Becky looked at me in shock. You can't be Dorothy, she said. Dorothy's not Chinese. Suddenly, the world went silent. Like a melting icicle, my dream of being Dorothy fell and shattered on the ground. I felt like a dirty puddle after the rain. All the girls continued singing, but I didn't hear them. Becky was right. Dorothy wasn't Chinese. I was so dumb. How could I have even thought about being Dorothy? I'd never get chosen. It was stupid to even try. When Miss Malone called my name at the audition, I shook my head. Are you sure? She asked. I nodded, and Miss Malone called on the next girl. The next day, a list was posted with all the parts. I was a Munchkin, and Emma Richards was Dorothy. Emma had brown hair that curled at the ends and blue eyes. When she wore the blue checkered dress, she'd look just like Dorothy. How come Chinese people are never important? I asked Melody. What do you mean? She said. We're important. No, we're not, I said. You never see a Chinese person in the movies or in a play or in a book. No one Chinese is important. There are Chinese movie stars, Melody said, and the woman that does the news is in Chinese. Not a lot, though, I said, and there are none in books. Whenever we do a school play, it's always from books, and none of them of the characters are Chinese. We did Cinderella, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland. Nobody in books is Chinese. There must be, Melody said. Just because the school hasn't done a play about a Chinese person doesn't mean there aren't any. I doubt it, I said. I bet there aren't any. Melody and I went to the library and asked for a Chinese book. We looked at the book, The Five Chinese Brothers. See, Melody said, Chinese people. Those aren't real Chinese people, though, I said. Your brother doesn't have a ponytail. And here's a picture of Dorothy and the Five Chinese Brothers. It's not supposed to be real, Melody said. Who can swallow the ocean like they do in the book? But I wanted a real Chinese person book, I complained. One with people like us, Chinese Americans. You're just being picky, Melody said. Go write your own then. Okay, I said, suddenly remembering the book contest. I will. That's the end of that chapter.